Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to be continuing on to our penultimate episode of this week's theme of new releases, where we're looking at songs that have recently been released as a single or a music video, or a song off of an album that was recently released. Now, today's band I cannot pronounce, and rather than butcher the name, I'm just going to let you guys see the name of the band. It pops up in the music video about 1 second in. I'm going to utilize their acronym, which is used on their official website. So I'm going to assume it is utilized in some official capacity. They are OTPMD. The song is So Many Things to Feel Guilty About. Yeah, a lot of drive and momentum right off the bat. Let's get right into this. I like how they have two percussionists at least. We have a kit and somebody doing some auxiliary stuff with some wood blocks maybe and a timpani. Yeah, a very wide performance right here with the vocals. Oh, we got a trombone sitting right here.
So many things to feel guilty about.
Yeah, so it looks like everybody's really getting into this. I mean, this dude's obviously getting into the song. Alright. Very interesting distances between those notes and that melody. Yeah, we got a nice, I almost want to say that's a marimba. It's got nice wood blocks on it. I'm trying to figure out what that instrument is. It sort of looks like a flugelhorn, but it's not. Might be a mellophone. Oh, we got violin in here too. They're taking a long time panning around. I'm excited to see all the instruments here. A lot of performers as well. Oh, dang. Didn't see that one.
For holding stuff
Yeah,
I should
really
be able
fun.
to fix, for dumping stuff I should be able to fix, for driving, for flying, for my mountains of recycling, for drinking out of plastic bottles, for drinking too much, for eating too much.
Yeah, so I like this. The rhythmic complexity is sort of backed off in the music so that we can have the spoken word and the rhythmic elements of that.
For being too demanding, for being too assertive, for being needy and greedy, for criticizing, for being a pushover, for being British, for working too hard, for being too busy, for not responding sooner, for not earning enough, for finding things hard, for having it easy, for having enough when some people have nothing, for letting my kids have too much plastic crap, for eating frozen pizza and baked beans 3 days in a row, for getting paid well to do a job I love when some people are paid shit for doing jobs they hate, for doing things badly when I'm in a rush, for having too much stuff and too little time to use it up, for being stressed and ratty with the people I love.
Really interesting rhythmic complexity there between the marimba and the plucked violin. Is that? Yeah, I love that dude's energy though, the trombonist. Yeah, so the song is very repetitious, but I'm going to get into that in a bit because it is intended for that. Beautiful little melody or harmony there. Dude's going ham back there. Is that the double bass? I think so, based on the size. Yeah. Very interesting. Very cool. So, sort of avant-garde-ish in some of the ideas, though I can see there's some elements of maybe like a little bit of rock and jazz in there. There's definitely some Latin America ideas, especially in some of the percussive rhythms. Overall, just a really cool combination of ideas, and I love how it's all coming together. Um, so I don't know if I should start with the macro or the micro concepts first. I think we're gonna start with the micro and build into the overall theme element that I'm kind of feeling here. So let's look at some of the cool things. First of all, the percussion. We got three percussion people. We got the drum kit guy. We got the auxiliary percussionist who had the timpanis and some of the wood blocks and other stuff. They were in their soundproof area, and then we have the marimba player out in the main area with everyone else. And there's so many really fun textures that having all three of those percussionists and the diverse amount of instruments that they have that can really bring to the table and embellish and just make the rhythm section feel so much larger and more vibrant than a lot of rock and metal. I really don't like to put down rock and metal because it does what it does really well. And of course, there's lots of bands who expand and go outside the scope of guitar, bass, drums, and bring other instruments into the fray. But I've mentioned before, it's one of those things that I can't not hear is just how very limited a lot of the rock and metal is because they tend to stick to very similar instruments. And this is one of those things I'm talking about where when you bring in so many different elements, we don't have just the kit, which would be cymbals, snare, some toms, and a floor kick, a bass. I don't remember if I said that. I might have said the kick twice. The timpanis themselves bring this very wide, large, grandiose sound. They're wider, they're deeper, they're bigger than the toms. And that's just not something you're going to get no matter how big of a tom you're going to get. It's not going to touch that width and that core power of a timpani. And then, of course, the wood blocks and a lot of the other sort of hollow instruments that the auxiliary percussionist had, they bring a lot of vibrancy to it and offsets a lot of the bass heaviness that we hear from the bass kicks and the toms and the timpani. It provides some levity, some fun, some element of just kind of it's not as heavy of a sound. I think that's the big thing. It's nice contrast to everything else in that little percussion studio they had there. And the way that they utilize them, usually to accent offbeats, really helps drive the bounciness, the danciness, the movement and direction of the song. It keeps the progression going. And then, of course, we have the marimba, and it just has these really nice warm notes that contrast very well against the brightness in the brass and sort of the brightness in a lot of the strings. There was a lot of high-end strings going on. I think there were two violins. I saw the cello and the double bass, though. They brought some warmth as well. Them and the marimba really added a lot of the warm characteristics to the song that make it feel very, I don't know, at home, comfortable. Maybe that's just me. Maybe those are just my biases. I love those timbres and the characteristics that those tones bring out. And it's just perfectly balanced against a lot of the higher end, brighter stuff like the wood blocks and the violins and even the trombone and whatever that was in the trumpet family. Um, like I said, mellophone and flugelhorn are kind of the two that I'm picturing there, but I don't think it really looked like either one of them. Not perfectly anyway. So maybe there's something in the trumpet family that I am just not aware of that was being utilized there, or maybe it was a modified version. Because if I remember correctly, there was a pinky valve. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. See if I can. There's. Let me see if I can get a good shot of this, and then I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Yeah. Oh man, the camera's moving real quick. Let me see if I can find that long shot. It's by his side. All right, man. I feel like I'm wasting time here, but this is kind of really important to me. I don't know why it's so important, but I really need to know. Okay, here we go. We're gonna bring this back up. So it's kind of small up there. Anyways, though. There we go. Oh man, so close. Okay, so it's right next to where his glasses and headphones are. If it was a 2D plane, obviously it's it's in front of his face. But he has his three fingers on, so it's not a pinky valve. He has his three fingers, right hand. Has his three fingers on the three main valves, but there's one that's closer to his face that I guess you'd have to extend your primary finger to hit, which I've never seen before, which really intrigues me. It's one of the things that stands out and makes me think that it's not a mellophone or a flugelhorn. I've played a flugelhorn, and I've seen a mellophone in person, and I have never seen, I mean, obviously this could be a variant. Maybe it is a mellophone with that extra valve on it. But yeah, it's nothing that I've seen, which is really cool. However, its tone is very trumpety. It's bright, which of course makes sense given the metal that it's made out of. It's on the higher end, which trumpets are known for. It's definitely something in that trumpet family. So yeah, really cool instrumentation all around. I love the way that they're balancing the brightness and the warmth, the higher end, the lower end, balancing some of the weight with some bounciness. There's this really great contrast in each individual instrument and what it's bringing to the table. And I love that. That is one of the best things about varied groups of instruments. Even when you look at something like a string quartet, assuming all four instruments are different, each one's bringing something different to the table. They all have that same playing timbre. If everybody's bowing, you're going to get that, but you get the different characteristics and the brightness. So that's something we don't see too often in rock, mostly in rock, just because guitar, bass, drums. There's not a lot of variety going on there. And like I said, I kind of hate bringing it up so often, but it is something I miss about larger acoustic groups, just because usually by definition there's a larger variety of tones, and it is probably the most homesick thing I've felt doing this channel, listening to so much rock and metal. Is just the lack of variety of timbre in a song. Anyways, let's move on. There's some really cool rhythmic ideas in here. The song is actually very rhythmic. There's very few strong melody lines that aren't loop-based or riff-based, however you want to look at that. Lick-based, if you're more of a jazz musician. So it really is about building this atmosphere and this feeling and identity in the song composition itself, rather than any strong sense of melody. And the song composition is something that I really want to come back to, because there's something interesting about this song. I mentioned that it does a lot of looping, not just the video itself, which is constantly rotating, it seems, but the music itself doesn't really move anywhere. It has 2 or 3 different modes, but they seem to be predicated on combining different parts. Every instrument has 1, maybe 2 parts. For a 5-minute song is a very small amount. Even in a pop song, which is only going to be half this length, give or take, you're still going to have a verse, a chorus, and some sort of bridge element. You're going to have 3 parts that really define the song. And in this one, some instruments only have 1. A couple of instruments have 2, and that means that each section is really carrying more of the song than even a pop song's lack of variety does. But the interesting thing here is how things are combined. The trumpet and trombone, I know it's not a trumpet, I'm calling it a trumpet though for the time being. The trumpet and trombone have 1 main line that they repeat through most of the song, but when it's used and what other instruments are doing their idea and what kind of combinations of sounds are going on around it really defines it. It's all about taking specific themes per instruments and putting them in different configurations so that the song sounds like it's progressing while retaining this core idea of not really moving or going anywhere, which is important for the lyrics. Now see, the lyrics, the song is called So Many Things to Feel Guilty About, and they start the song with the group chanting those words. And it really ends up feeling very much like a mantra. This is a release of energy. We have so many things that we can feel guilty about. And at one point, there's a spoken word section where they listed off dozens of things, sometimes contradictory things, having too much of something, having not enough of something. There's always something to feel guilty about. The song is cyclical because it's designed to be a mantra. It's designed to remind yourself you don't have to be guilty. You don't have to feel guilty about everything out there. Take a moment and just remember that there's constant pressure to feel guilty about all of these things, and you don't have to do it. You can just dance in place, let that negative energy come out, and just jam with a really cool song rather than worrying about all the things you could do better. I really love that idea. Because when it started, I really felt like there was a contrast. And there is a contrast for sure, but I felt it was a contrast that didn't jive very well between the bounciness and upbeatness and funness of the music with this sort of downtrodden pressure in the lyrics, this feeling of not being able to escape. But really, the song is the opposite of that. It's acknowledging that there is this pressure and saying you're free to not engage with it. Have fun. Don't think about it. There's too much pressure in it anyways, and not all of it can be solved regardless. So, yeah, maybe there are some things you need to deal with, but don't worry about everything. There's so many things. And I just really love that, how the song turns into this reminder. The looping aspect is to keep you engaged with this one message. I really would have liked if they had repeated that chant, the so many things to feel guilty about, that they started with, somewhere in the middle or closer to the end, just to kind of really nail home that concept of this is a mantra, this is something you can repeat to yourself, this is a dancey song you can remember when you're feeling down. Just remember the song exists and, jam out a bit, get all that negative energy out. But even without that repetition there at the end, I think the rest of the song really speaks volumes to the concepts and themes that are going on in it, and I love it. I am very interested in what else this band does, not just because I think that they completely nailed this as an artistic piece, looking at it thematically, but I also really enjoy the music itself, And I am a huge fan of this collection of instruments. I think they are a very eclectic group of musicians, and their instrument selections come together very nicely. They know how to compose for their set, and I think that's awesome. I would like to explore what else they do, maybe something with a little bit more compositional structure to it. But again, if I find anything that's also thematically relevant and just really works on that artistic piece, that emotional level, really finding that correlation between the music and the lyrical concepts, I'll be more than happy to have explored that, even if it's not exactly something I might return to often, just because of song structure, melodic elements, or anything like that. But those are just my thoughts on OTPMD. This where you guys come in though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you thought of so many things to feel guilty about. If you've heard of the band before, point me in a direction. I'm always interested in checking out more of these types of bands that just really intrigue me, but I don't know where to start. I can always just, find this album and start from song one, but usually fans know exactly where to point me, so I'm looking forward to those comments. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree, which is a super nifty website. It brings all of my links together, whether you want to follow me on Twitter, support the channel through Patreon, join the Discord community, all sorts of stuff. There's like 11 things in there. If there's anything you wanted to do related to the channel, it's probably there. Above the description box, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three of those things help out the channel immensely. There's another episode coming on in about 10 minutes, I'd say. It'll be the second special selection for the week. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll be finishing up this week's theme of new releases. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's a band that we checked out on a live stream once, and I'm really excited to do a proper reaction on it and to give some extended analysis. So see what they're up to these days. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.